So we're going to go ahead and kick this off, and I want to start by, we're going to just take a couple minutes and we're actually going to listen to a song. We're going to kind of get present here, remove all our distractions. I think I see Simon's maybe queuing up here too. So let's wait for him for a minute before we really get everything kicked off. But of course, happy Earth Day, everybody. Hope everybody's days have not been too crazy or intense. I kind of imagine they have been. Sam, I know you all are pumping out a lot of things and busy. I can see the smile on Rachel's face. So that means that you are probably busy today, I suppose, or have been busy today. I guess your days are starting to wind down a little bit, which is good. Okay, all right. Well, I think let's go ahead and get it started. So before we do introductions, and I'm kind of hoping to go around the Zoom room here and just do introductions for everybody. So we're gonna put a song up and just allow everybody to kind of get present. We recommend everybody, try to stay on mute and then come off of mute when you're ready to speak. There is a raise your hand function. So if you click on your little toolbar, you can raise your hand and it'll put up on the screen so we know that you want to talk. And then we'll kind of just go in order that way. We also recommend certainly, go on to do not disturb mode on your devices, try to remove distractions. We are all way too oversensitized in this world of ours these days. So, kind of get present with us and enjoy the next hour and we'll have some fun. All right, so I don't know about you all, but a few beats and little rhythm always kind of settles me into whatever we're doing. So we'll actually put a link to that song in the chat. Pretty much everything that you see and kind of experience and hear from our guests are going to be in here. So let's go ahead and since we have a nice small kind of intimate room here, let's go around and do some introductions. So I will kick us off. So I'm Chance and I am the designer. And what I'd like everybody to do is introduce yourself through your animal identity. So think about what your animal in nature is. Could also be a dog or a cat or something too. And then just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and kind of why you're here, I suppose. So 30 seconds apiece, and we'll just go around the room and get to know each other a little bit. So Chance, I'm the designer for this platform called VIRIDESCENT, which is creating a new community space on WONDR called the VIRIVERSE, which is immersive sustainability. And my animal identity is the wolf. And the reason is because a lone wolf dies in the wilderness, but pack animals such as wolves are fiercely loyal and they can survive the winter. And that is kind of how I see the sustainability community as well. If we band together, we can make the change that is needed ahead of us. So okay, let's just go kind of in order of the, well, actually, let's bounce around a little bit. Yeah, so Sam, why don't we go over to you first?
Hi, everybody from all around the world, I'm sure, on time. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name's Sam Reeder. I'm one of the founders of WONDR, and we're a social learning platform that connects people around environmental and social impact topics. So a few of you on the call may know me already. But as you can see from my graphic there, a very vigilante with Chance. My spirit animal is far more around the panda. I draw a lot from that kind of creature based on a kind of hidden strength and determination, as well as a peaceful way of thinking about things and a gentle strength. So, and I'm here to listen to everyone's stories around partnership and sustainability, but also just learn constantly and absorb some of the great things people are doing in the world. That gives me so much energy. So pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Sean Nickerson, let's go over to you. Okay, Sean. Oh, there it goes.
There we go. Sorry, took me a second to get to unmute. Hey, everybody. Good morning. I'm Sean Nickerson. My alter ego is the ant, and I identify with that creature because of their ability they share with humans to plan projects that span generations. I find that quite fascinating. My background is co-founder with Chance at VIRIDESCENT, and have been kind of a serial entrepreneur, startup generalist for the last 18 years, and looking forward to kind of embarking, being at the bottom of this learning curve in sustainability. Always had an interest and a high level of interest in it, and now I am working in it, which is really exciting for me. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to participating.
Awesome. Rachel, why don't we go to you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel, and I'm founder of Circular Earth, which is a fashion consultancy building fashion futures for businesses that want to transform in terms of sustainability and regenerative futures. I've been in the fashion industry for 22 years, 23 years now as a designer and design manager. So I know the process from A to Z, essentially. My spirit animal is kind of the panther, generally, because I like to lead.
We like leaders. Okay, we like to follow. So that's great. All right, let's go to Rishika.
Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Rishika. I'm from India. I work here as a lawyer, as a painter, and as a social worker. My spirit animal would be a reptile. It would be snake, definitely. The reason would be snakes are grounded. I find myself being very in tune with the power of transforming, changing, striving to be better, and creating sustainable partnerships is something I'm aspiring to do. I have no previous experience in sustainable development businesses or partnerships, but I'm here to learn, I am here to create, and I'm here to help my community do better. So that's me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rishika. Okay, let's go over to Trail Runner.
Formerly, sometimes Nida's name is Nest in translation. Supposedly, there are 3 platforms consisting in ecology, economy, emotions. Basically, an alter ego of mine could be with my catchphrase, "See you later, alligator."
Like that.
I have drew the spirit animal, and basically the alter ego lets me obsess about things a little bit more, like complete in one run than much in a row. So as atoms do not lie, I think we can hear that I am a little bit a founder of a page called Give Up ? It's to take examples in atoms who are true.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Trail Runner. Let's go over to Waylon.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Waylon Pretenzeagle. I am a enrolled member of the 3 affiliated tribes of North Dakota. I'm tapping in from the homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute, as well as the Ocheti Shakopee. My background is journalism, as well as government. I graduated into government, tribal governments. Have been exploring the ESG realm for not very long, but realize that there is a need for it on reservations, and I'm trying to create some linkage there. Let me think here. I don't have a spirit animal per se, but I do have helpers, and one of them is the bear. Hard to kind of explain that, but you guys understand spirit animal a little bit differently. But I was raised a little bit differently, but I hope that I can lend a voice for indigenous cultures and indigenous people to this perspective. I'm very interested in Viridescent and everything Wonder, all of it. Extremely interested, extremely grateful for the invite today, and hope to be of service.
Amazing. Thank you, Waylon. And yeah, we kind of tend to look at the animals as more like identities, right? That we connect with in that way, right? From our kind of realm. I'd really be interested in learning more about your culture and how, you know, how you all look at that particular piece. It's a fascinating thing, and of course we love our animals, or at least we should anyway, right? Very cool. All right, well, we had a couple of others join in, so we're kind of at quarter past the hour, and I want to kick off the topic at hand here. But for Sanji and Andre, we'll have you do some introductions here in just a couple of minutes as we get things kind of up and running. So we are here to talk about sustainable partnerships. I'm not going to go into any major detail about Viridescent specifically. You know, we're on the Wonder platform. You all have plugged into our community page. We'll kind of talk about it kind of lightly as we weave in out, but I really want to give the space to our guests and you know, everybody that's here in the Zoom room with us to discuss and break down what are sustainable partnerships. So a couple of things to kind of set the tone for this. Everybody seems to be practicing pretty good Zoom etiquette. So if you could stay on mute when you're not speaking, or make sure your mic is quiet, of course. You can use the raise hand function if you want to respond to something, and we'll keep track of everybody's kind of hand raising in order so we can make sure we go through and get everybody's responses. We're going to have a couple of kind of featured speakers here. So Viridescent here will kind of guide the conversation, and then Sam from Wonder will speak a bit. And then we'll welcome Rachel and Rishika to come up and join us as well. But what we want to do is leave space for when everybody kind of comes, share some wisdom, that we'll leave it open for people to ask questions or bring their own comments and stories. And what we want to kind of examine today is, what is a sustainable partnership and why is it important? And why do we think, at least at Viridescent, and I kind of think Wonder feels the same way, but I'll let Sam speak for himself, of course, that they can change the world for the better. So we'll be kind of talking about the symbiotic nature of sustainable partnerships, and how, you know, typically, you know, we as a partner partnering with somebody else, we care more about their benefit than our own. And that's kind of a more cyclical, recyclable, regenerating sort of design, that we're in it to benefit the others. And by way of that, then we'll be just fine, right? It's beyond profit, more like purpose, you know, really focusing on how to increase the impact in the mission, and the profit stuff will come along behind that. And thinking in circular values. So when we think about, from our perspective, what we want to offer to a sustainable partner, we try to figure out, like, how can we help them save time? How can we help them drive their impact? How can we help them be happy in the mission that they're doing and the work that they're doing, and happy with working with us? And then, you know, certainly how can we help them increase their profits or revenue or prosperity? And then lastly, our kind of big belief around sustainable partnerships is the idea of co-creation. So, you know, alone, going it kind of solo, don't solve that many problems, like I talked about with the wolf. You know, a lone wolf dies in the wilderness, but together we are problem solvers, and we can probably tackle just about any challenge that's ahead of us. So let's kind of do a little bit of a go around between Sam, Rachel, Rishika, and you know, let's start with what feels different about sustainable partnerships. And you know, before we do that, Paul, I realized I skipped over you too, so we'll have you jump in and do your introduction here in a couple of minutes. But let's throw it to Sam. Do you want to kind of speak to what feels different about a sustainable partnership to you?
Yeah, thanks, Chance. And again, welcome everybody. I think you've touched on a few things there that probably I could repeat with examples, but I think a sustainable partnership, like you say, this circularity with sustainability, it's very much about the giving more than you're taking. And I think moving into a relationship and a partnership that you both trust in each other's desired outcomes and actions to create something bigger than yourselves, and it's that mission and vision that you're looking for that's more of the purpose of as to why you're coming together than it is necessarily for your own gain. And I think a sustainable partnership has far more than just profit in mind, although it understands there has to be sustainability in the economic and commercial model as well to ensure that we can continue doing good things, but the goal has to be far bigger than that. And I think reflecting on some of the things that I've seen in the past, giving an example of, I've come from a marketing background myself, and part of the thing that made me want to create Wonder was that as a species, we've always combined knowledge and collaboration to do anything that we've ever done as a species on this planet. And now more so than ever, I think those two things need to come together, but with a different way of looking at those things rather than just economic gain or growth. It's also about, you know, what is our impact in the world. And I think as a sustainable partnership, it's about holding each other to account to those things that are far greater than just economic prosperity. So coming from a marketing background and moving into Wonder, I think one of the most important things there is around building transparency, ensuring there's no hidden agendas, very clear outcomes as to what you're driving towards, and constant reviews, but knowing that you can challenge each other and not safeguard, but actually challenge and protect the goal of what you started out with, and whistleblow and call each other out along that way, because so many things are happening and there's so many different elements that are pulling at somebody and your own businesses, your own teams, your own organization, that you need to be able to take a step back and trust people will take a step back with you when things maybe aren't going in the right direction, and have that conversation. And I think the outcomes can be that you're bringing skills together that you didn't have before, so you can achieve something far greater than you can by oneself. And again, I think that's a wonderful way of reflecting on us as a species, and what we need to overcome. There was a conversation a moment ago around kind of carbon tax and people taking action and putting a stake in the ground. And I think again, partnerships can hold you accountable to that, which is really important, so that you stay true to your values even in the hardest of times. But I'm here as well to listen and learn, so I wanted to just share a little bit there. I'm certainly very open. I really want to learn more about cultural differences, perspectives, how people view partnerships as well. But this is Sam Dunn speaking, and look forward to hearing everyone else's perspectives as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Sam. And it's something I'd mention as well. And actually, you just practice really good clubhouse etiquette. So let's carry that on. So when you start speaking, announce yourself. So I'm Chance here, or I'm Chance, and I'm speaking, and I'm gonna go in, and then when you're done, you can announce that you're done speaking and pass it to the next person. That is actually a really good accessibility component to people that might not be able to see or hear as well. So thank you for that, Sam. One thing I wanted to just speak to really quickly in there is you talked about how sustainable partners can hold each other accountable. I think that there's a lot of companies, whether they're existing companies that are trying to shift over to sustainability, but this like sustainable startups too that want to be considered a sustainable company from the get-go. It's one thing to say that you're going to self-police and kind of self-govern and hold yourself accountable. It's an entirely different beast to have a partner that's pushing you and challenging you and questioning you. You know, it's like a good relationship in life, right? They're the ones willing to shoot it straight and tell you what you're doing well and what you're not doing well, which I think is a huge element to sustainable partnerships. So let's go ahead and shift over to Rachel. Rachel, what does a sustainable partnership feel like to you? What's different?
So hello, Rachel. I'm really glad, Chance, that you mentioned the symbiotic nature, because for me that is one of the main things. It is like a relationship in a kind of romantic sense in a way as well. That it's more chilled out for me anyway, because you're creating together and you are holding each other to account, as Sam was talking about so eloquently. And I've been creating something called an ecosystem, which is like creating a platform to help everyone start to collectively work together as a bigger ecosystem. And the main part for me was that has thrivability for everyone within the system, in purpose and in money and in your own kind of want to be something in the world. So yeah, thrivability for all. And also, yeah, the trust element is really important. I've been on other collaborations where the trust hasn't been there. And so, yeah, sometimes that just doesn't work out because they're not in a similar mindset. So yeah, that's me. I'm Rachel. I'm done talking.
Amazing. Thank you, Rachel. Chance here. So let's go over to Rishika and have her kind of speak to what a sustainable partnership feels like. And then we'll pause there and let everybody else in the room, raise your hand. And if you've got comments or questions for the three that have spoken, and then we'll just kind of keep going around the room and bouncing through the conversation as we go, kind of popcorn style. So Rishika.
Hi. So hi, I'm Rishika speaking. So what I think about the sustainable partnership, because I have no experience where I come from, it's not a very comfortable environment for a woman as a lawyer, for a woman as an artist, for a woman who's running the household, for a woman in general. It's not a very comfortable, very united country for us. So for me, it's more about the social aspect of the society, where I identify how important it is to work together and help each other grow, because at this point, accountability is very important for Indians. Growing together and helping each other out is very important for our communities, because after the pandemic, things are going very bad for India, especially as we speak today. We are in a very, very, very bad situation. Our economic situation, our social situation, everything is going a few years back in time. So I think at this point, what I would like to do, what I think a sustainable partnership would do for me, learning from you and this platform, is what I have experienced for a while now with Viridescence. Meeting all of you and understanding how we can co-create, coexist, understand each other from across the planet. And I think that is where my understanding is coming from. But I am looking to learn more, and that is me. I'm Rishika, and I'm done talking. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishika. Chance here. So, over here, someone that is a lawyer and a professional artist, we might call you a bit crazy or visionary. It's one of those two things, maybe a little of both, honestly. It's very impressive, and I highly recommend people check out her artwork. Rishika, feel free to put your links in the chat, because it's then one you can kind of see some of it behind her there, but it's stunning stuff. So cool. Okay, well, why don't we do this? Let's get introductions for the few that were left off the early introductions. So Paul, why don't we jump over to you? Then we'll go to Dr. Sanjita and Andre. So introduce yourself, what animal you identify with, and then any questions you have for what's been said, or share your perspective on what a sustainable partnership is from your perspective.
Thanks, Chance. I'm Paul. I'll show my age a little bit. I thought at the very beginning when you showed the rabbit on the skateboard that you were going to play the Jefferson Airplane White Rabbit song, but something different. My spirit animal is the tiger. I'm not so much sure that I chose tiger as tiger chose me. I was born in the Lunar New Year of the tiger, and I've always kind of identified with tigers as fascinating animals, mysterious animals, and so yeah. So I think what a lot of the folks have said, Sam and Rachel and even Rishika, I would certainly agree with in terms of partnerships. What I've been looking at, and Chance knows this because we've been working together on this, is I've been looking at, how do industries start to think differently about different kinds of partnerships than they would normally think about? So for me, I have a marketing background, but I've worked in the event industry for quite a long time and have worked on event sustainability. And I've been sort of challenging the event industry to start to think about, carbon, for example, being one of the big elephants in the room in terms of all the travel that happens for meetings and conferences and events around the world. And, should event management companies and destinations and even event planners within companies start pushing for things like partnering with the sustainable aviation industry and starting to think about, can we start to create some solutions around a different way of looking at carbon in terms of travel? So it's sort of a twofold, way of looking at it, from the standpoint of reducing the amount of travel that we do, but also helping the industry to, become more sustainable by research and development on sustainable aviation fuel. And then, looking at things like also partnering with the packaging industry to start to think about rethinking the way that we package our goods and transport them around the world. So for me, the differentiation in terms of sustainable partnerships has to do with thinking differently about the types of partnerships that we might want to create within any given industry that we might be working in. So I'm Paul. I'll stop talking for right now. Thanks, Chance.
Thank you, Paul. Chance here. It's amazing work that you're doing and continue. I think you might actually serve more value being semi-retired than you were working full time, right? Because now you're thinking about this on the biggest of levels, and it's really exciting. So I look forward to supporting and following along. Okay, Dr. Sanjita, welcome, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, please correct me. Welcome to the stage.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me? Is the audio okay?
Loud and clear, yes.
Hello. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm actually an integrative medical doctor. I also have a business degree, an MBA, and I've also founded 2 nonprofits, a charity in the UK and a nonprofit in the US, and they're based around sustainability. It's called Unified Human Foundation. And we support projects and initiatives which unify human beings with nature. And I've been doing this integrative. I've studied Ayurveda, I've studied medical, and I'm because in December, and I.
Dr. Sanjita, it's breaking up from your end. Maybe if you try without video on. We had you good there for a minute and then it started to tail off.
Is that better? Is that better? No.
It's getting there a little bit, maybe.
We're getting closer. There we go. That might be better. Let's try again. Yes, I think so. Let's try.
Okay, so where did it get disrupted?
That's perfect. Okay. So it was pretty early on there. So I'd say just kind of get back in your flow and take us back through it. I think it'd be great.
Okay, so I'm an integrative medical doctor. I'm generally based out of London, UK. I also have an MBA business degree, and I founded 2 nonprofits, one in the UK and one in the US, and they're both called Unified Human Foundation, and we support initiatives and projects which unify human beings with nature. And apart from medicine, traditional medicine, I've also studied Ayurveda, I've studied shamanism, I've studied a lot of alternative, sort of complementary natural modalities. And I'm sitting right now in Delhi, in India, And I have the exact opposite experience of Rishika about India, because I know that India is going through a tough time, but so has the UK, so has different countries in Europe. And I have seen the most incredible women working in NGOs that are mainstreaming incredible organizations for other women, for health, for all sorts of things, because I'm connected directly with these NGOs. So I think actually there's a lot of stuff that's superficial that people just want to see on the surface. And then there's an awful lot of stuff going on underneath the layers that you've got to be involved in and get connected with and start being active in to really see what's going on. And I work a lot with the technologies, as Paul has mentioned as well, because that's part of the foundation work. We work with clean air, clean water, waste management, recycling, and new technologies, and also marine and aquaculture, as well as cultural and community sustainability. So there's an awful lot of synergies here. And for me, sustainability is a not very well understood term. And I think we're going to understand it as we live it, rather than a sort of dictionary definition of it. That's all I really want to say for now. And thank you so much for having me on this platform.
Amazing. Thank you. And we're so happy to have you here. Hope you enjoy your time with us. It's interesting to hear how different perspectives from similar, places coming from the same country, same place in the world, right? That's really interesting. Rishika, I don't know if you want to, chime in and respond or have any dialogue on that at all.
No, so I agree. I agree with Dr. Sangeeta, because that is what I'm talking about, Chance. People don't have the accessibility for the same information, for the same resources to help, for the same people, so to speak. I work for the underprivileged. I also work with Ekal Vidyalaya, which is an organization based out of Houston. I work with them. I'm a member with them. I work very close with them for children and women, their safety, a lot of other things. But I still feel the need, because I see myself standing alone. I'm sure, and I know about these women that Ms. Sangeeta is talking about. There are fantastic people who are working night and day out, but I think it's not enough. I somewhere down the line, it's not enough. I'm living in a small state and I see myself working alone. I have nobody who wants to help the communities with me. I have nobody who wants to educate these children with me. I have nobody who wants to think about other people right now. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the more underprivileged societies of this country, maybe, and certainly have got nothing to do with tech and that industry that is very, very far from me right now. But yes, I do understand her perspective and I respect it. And that's Rishika, and I'm done talking.
Can I say something, please, quickly?
Of course. Yeah, please.
Rishika, please contact me. I will put you in touch with communities and with groups that you can really connect with, and you can really, you can start doing stuff with. I'd be happy to do that. I've put my contact details on the chat and my mobile number in India as well. So please just get in touch.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. I think we just had a partnership formed right there. I love that. So I want to speak to a couple of things here that has been mentioned. So, one, this idea of sustainability, right? What does it mean? Is it an accessible term? Is it a thing that people feel can be acted upon? And one of the things about sustainability, I've always kind of seen it is it's a lot like technology. It kind of touches everything. And nothing all at once sometimes, right? But technology reshaped the world and really is a part of everything everybody does every day. And what's cool about sustainability in my mind is it's more human than technology is. And I think that's a special thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention too is that this is a good example of kind of showing us the different levels of partnerships that can be established or that are being sought out. So we look at the what we call the stakeholder ecosystem, and it is examining 5 levels. You have the, and I'm actually gonna come back on video here for a minute. You have the individual level, right? So an individual can often feel siloed, not really sure where to find community. And that's one of the things that I'm very excited about with this WONDR platform and the amazing potential ahead this, because it's allowing individuals to come and be learners in a space that's really, really exciting. Then you have, of course, the community level of this. So individuals trying to get active in their communities. Well, in the virtual space, you know, we're here creating kind of a virtual community, and that actually can be really earth-shattering. Not actually earth-shattering, because we don't want that, right? But so to speak, I guess, dark humor on Earth Day. And then we roll that up into the business partnerships, and the business partnerships then roll up into helping their industries become better and shifting the paradigm there. And all of those hopefully will positively influence government. So there's all these levels to how you engage in this. And I think it's really important that we think about what we're missing and the impact we're trying to make, but we need someone or some people or some platform to connect the dots for us. And I want to really throw some credit and excitement towards WONDR, because it is the space to do something just like that. So, okay, we have a couple of new folks to come up and introduce themselves. So Andre, I know you've been kind of sitting patiently waiting. Thank you for your patience. Would love to have you come up and introduce yourself, and then we'll go over to Aurora.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Andre. I'm an 18-year-old student from Portugal. I've always been interested in environment, social causes, and also spirituality. In terms of my childhood, I've always felt that I'm very connected with nature and mostly with the ocean. For now, I've been involved in a certain number of projects. In terms of sustainability, I've been involved in the project Creators. That is an YouTube channel where we review some sustainable products, and the revenue that you get from there, we will donate it 100% for charity. I've started a minimalist journey, like trying to decluttering all the excess stuff that I have at home, all my clothes. Like a month ago, I'm extending my journey to 2 months, until 2-3 months, is to choose the things that I really need to my life and that really had value to me. And I'm also the co-founder of a new project. It's actually a podcast with a guy called Elliot that I met on WONDR, actually. The podcast is called From Millennials to Z. It's a podcast where we try to create a link between the millennials generation and Z generation, because we think they are the 2 main generations in terms of positive impacts in today's world. It's a podcast about wellness, climate, spirituality, and also about the importance of having that type of collaborations and the importance of having a community. And it will be launched on Sunday, 25 April, actually. So I'm hoping that you all can take a look at it. We have created a project on WONDR actually to post it there. It will be up on Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Popular, and also Google Podcasts. But it will be something, I guess it will be something that you will like. Actually, our first guest speaker is Sam from WONDR, to do some type of introduction to our project. And now, in terms of my spiritual animal, I think I've never talked about it really, but I've always been identified with the orca, I guess the killer whale. I don't know why, because I think they are really smart animals and they actually work in community very well. It exists a really great and huge range of different types of groups of killer whales. So yeah, and that's it. I'm done talking. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Andre. I actually just followed the podcast space this morning, so I'm really excited for the launch. It'll be fun. I didn't know you had the celebrity of the room on first, Sam Reeder. That's pretty exciting. Love everything about that. Feel free, Andre, to put the chat or in the link, put the link in the chat to the podcast space so everybody can plug in. That would be really cool. I know I'm actually starting to feel a bit older now that there's all these Z's in the room, and I love everything about it because you all have an even more intense view of a sustainable future and world than the millennials do. And I'll apologize on behalf of our generation. We have not done enough, not yet, but onward we go, right? So it's very cool. All right, Aurora, let's have you jump on. And so we're doing our introductions via the animal that we identify with, and I would love to hear your perspective on what do you think is a sustainable partnership? What feels different about a sustainable partnership versus just a normal everyday partnership?
Oh goodness. Okay, sorry. I had something different in my mind to say, and now
go with you can also go with what you had too.
Okay.
No, that's okay. You can.
I joined late, so I. In fact, I joined late because I was on a call to potentially form a new partnership. So, you never know. It's just the initial conversation and who knows where it can go from there. My name is Aurora, and thanks to the brilliant designer, I have this lovely icon that includes a tree with the sunlight coming through it and these birds. And my spirit animal, I don't know. That question is always like, I don't know. I'm a little like a cat because I'm kind of selfish and do my own thing, but that's not exactly inspiring. So I told Chance that I love the birds of paradise. I love looking at those documentaries that show how they're just so beautiful, and I don't know, I'm just very inspired by that. And I'm sorry that I don't have a more articulate answer for the spirit animal piece, but I'll work on that, Chance, so that in future calls I can be a little bit more coherent. But I will say what was on my mind as I was listening to a little bit of what I did here when I came in is, so I am Generation X. And, as I listen to young people talk about sustainability, like Andre, talking, and I don't know the ages of some of the others, but it sounded from what Chance was saying that the call is mostly Gen X and millennials and Gen Z. I love that there are so many millennials and Gen Z who are, we're going to change the world, and really out there doing the kinds of things you're doing, starting podcasts and running nonprofit organizations and all of that. But I also know from having taught college for the last 10 years that you're still the exception, not the rule. That even though there's all this data that says millennials want sustainability and Gen Z wants purpose and sustainability, I still think that those of you out there doing this work, you're still in the minority by far, like really still very much in the minority. And my passion and what I like to do is reach the others, the ones that, yes, they're interested, but they don't have the get up and go that you have. They're not starting podcasts. They're barely getting out of bed and going to work, but they do care. They want to do something. They do want to make a difference, but they need encouragement, and they need skills. More than anything, they just need skills and knowledge. And so to segue that into partnerships, I think for me, partnerships have to be very, very practical. Maybe it's my age and I just don't have as much tolerance for all the philosophical anymore, but I need things to feel very tangible. And this this space, one of the reasons I love to be in the space that Chance has created and the Viridescent team is creating, is that it is a little more philosophical, and I need that. Like, it forces me to really get in touch with the whole purpose and the reason for why I do the things I do. But when it comes to really moving forward on partnerships, as Chance knows me very well, and Sam has been getting to know me, so I think you can both definitely say, yep, that sounds like you, Aurora. It's all about being very practical and tangible. I need to be able to, I have a sense of urgency about trying to get real things done. And so that's what feels like a sustainable relationship or partnership to me. I have a lot of tolerance for the getting to know you and the philosophical, certainly. I love those things. I can't wait to be in Utah again and having a glass of wine with you, Chance. But I also need to devote my time to things that I feel can really generate traction. So that's I'm Aurora, the change agent, and I'm done speaking.
Chance here. Amazing. Thank you, Aurora, aka the change agent. You are that for sure. So okay, let's do this. I'd like to flip it over to the WONDR team, because you're creating a creator platform, right? You're creating a partnership platform, I guess, more better put, for the topic at hand. And I know, Simon, you jumped in with us, so really good to see you and have you here. So I don't know, Sam and Simon, if you want to tag team this a little bit, but this would be a great time for Simon to make an introduction and say hello as well, our other co-founder from the WONDR team. But it'd be great to just hear you speak to the exciting new platform that you rolled out today. I believe I saw the post this morning on Instagram and was kind of immersed in it right from the get-go, and we're feeling really excited about it. So maybe if you could speak to a little bit about what that is and where you think things are heading, and why you think that WONDR is going to be a place of sustainable partnerships as a platform. I think that'd be really great to hear your perspective.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chance. Well, Simon's joined the room, so I'll allow him to maybe do an intro in a moment, perhaps unless he wants to jump in straight away. But I'd be very happy to just share a bit of what's going on, because I think a lot of what's been talked about is really inspiring, and I totally get where Aurora's coming from as well with causing action. And I think one of the things you also mentioned, Aurora, was building knowledge and using that to plug a gap which allows you to take action. And I know Rachel as well has done a great deal of work in these areas, from teaching students, Rachel, but also working with other businesses and building out regenerative partnerships with supply chains and how to make things sustainable in a world that sometimes just looks for economies of scale. But with regards to the Creator Network, just briefly, because I'm really enjoying hearing everyone's perspectives, one of the key things we found and why we started was that technology is a tool and it's done some incredible things, but perhaps the purpose of which it was created, which we feel is primarily for entertainment reasons, when you think about friends being connected through Facebook or Instagram starting out as an image platform and still is an image platform, we really wanted to try and play a part. We don't own this mission, we don't own the vision, we are part of a movement, and this call is symptomatic of that change of perspective. What we want to really build a platform for is to purposely create an environment whereby gaps in knowledge can be filled, which remove fear and fill it with hope and action, so that people can collaborate and they can, more importantly, build self-belief. Just watching the chat fly around just now, it's really important that people do believe that we can make a change. And I think a platform that can scale a feeling based on celebrating community. So it's not the platform that will succeed at this, it is the community. How do we elevate and celebrate the community? So the Creator Network is our commitment to building a technology that does away with advertising, does away with algorithms built based on popularity or ego, and tries to fuel interactions around learning, around passions, interests, and allowing people to explore their curiosity, which is obviously my emblem as well, my graphic, which Chance has so brilliantly put together. but also it's our name, wonder. I think a sense of wonder is all children need when they're young, and it's all adults need to hold on to as they grow up. And we hope to play a role in bringing more people together. A large part of what we're trying to do is expose and celebrate and spotlight the incredible things that are going on, and actually have that as a mandate for us as a company. So a social platform which specifically focuses on helping shine a light and connect people who maybe at some point felt they couldn't, now feel they can. That's our mission, to scale that kind of sentiment and ethos. And I think it's everything that Viridescent and what you're doing, Chance, and the team, we're so excited to be working with you, and everyone on the call shares that perspective, and that's what's so fantastic. But that's just a bit of an overview of how we see the world and how we want to play a part in that, how we want to use technology to scale some of those things. But mostly it's about people, and that's the key thing. And if Simon's on the call, and he can jump in, say hello. But he's our co-founder, deals a lot with operations and chief of our people internally as well.
No, well, hi everyone. Yeah, so Simon here, the co-founder. I think the conversation was maybe around spirit animals, wasn't it, Chance, at the beginning? So I'll just touch on that for a moment. I think maybe for me, it's probably more like an owl, I suppose, which we spoke about, Chance, obviously. But I think the reasoning behind that is I tend to, perhaps my role at Wonder, more the thinking on how, being mindful about how this platform is coming together. So obviously working very closely with Sam on that, but making conscious decisions that obviously make this platform perhaps better than ones that we've experienced in the past. But I'm also super excited about the Creator Network. I think my own personal reasons as well for starting Wonder, which is very similar to Sam's sentiments as well. Really, how can we use the opportunity of connecting people at such a large scale to actually taking more meaningful actions together? Obviously, I think traditionally platforms do that in a way which Sam's mentioned also around entertainment, but how can we help creators who are producing such wonderful content, very educational, and bring that to the masses to really inform future generations about perhaps how to live more sustainably? But I'm also super excited about that, and the success of that is very much in the people and the creators who we look to support, who come onto the network. But yeah, just a few things there. Obviously, please feel free to dig into any of that, but super excited, obviously, with working with the people who join our platform to make that happen.
Amazing. Thank you, Simon. Chance here. So you mentioned your animal is the owl. So some of you may have noticed that there's kind of a hidden Vera Vigilante in the room here, the researcher. She is operating in the background, and her animal is also the owl, which is they're neat creatures. I've never been able to capture a photo of one in the wild, and I don't know why, it's like they're eluding me. And I know where to look, kind of. I've done the research, I cannot find them. But very cool. So okay, I want to do a little time check here. So we're at 10:55, and we had this scheduled for an hour. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to run this kind of like a Clubhouse event. For those of you who have not been on Clubhouse, sometimes the conversations are so fruitful they'll kind of continue on. And other times they won't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a poll just for everybody to just ask if you want to stick around and maybe do another 30 minutes and maybe get a little deeper into the weeds. So I will put that up here in a minute. But I wanted to speak to something that Sam and then kind of Simon alluded to as well, is that this is a very exciting thing that is happening with your platform, because it is about a collective. And so one of the, obviously we're facilitating this conversation, and, we're hoping to kind of be fun, have some entertainment value and an immersive sort of sustainability experience to some of the content that we're doing. But what we see as our role too is we just really want to help other creators be successful as well. And because no one has all the answers, and I think it was maybe Rishika early on spoke about you being kind of new in the sustainability space, trying to learn some of these things. What I'm here to say is there's no such thing as a sustainability expert. It doesn't exist. None of us know what the hell we're doing, to be honest, right? We're trying to figure out something that's never been done before. We're basically trying to do what humans did a couple hundred years ago when they started dabbling into the Industrial Revolution Foundation, right? They didn't know what they were doing, and they worked their way slowly, and then boom, all of a sudden it exploded and changed the world. And I know in looking at your posts on Instagram, Wonder, looking at like the fourth industrial revolution here where we're at, it's changing, the paradigm is shifting. And I see it in addition as like a renewable or a kind of regeneration revolution of sorts, and a sustainable revolution. So it's just really, really exciting to be here. And I, for anybody in here that's a creator, and Rachel, I see you run Circular Earth. That is one of the ones I've been kind of ducking in and out of, taking a look at some things. And, so we just want everybody to know Viridescent is here to help support you and elevate your work, just like Wonder is trying to help people, grow and increase their reach and their impact and make money too, right? As creators, we're here to support that same type of mission. So I just wanted to kind of say that. So I'm going to launch the poll. And what we would do if we stuck around for another 30 minutes is we'd get a little bit deeper in the sustainable partnership weeds, and we'll just kind of see what the audience says. So let's just, while we do this, everybody just take like 30, 60 seconds, take a few breaths, kind of orient yourself, see where you're at in your day. It is Earth Day, it's crazy. So if somebody needs to jump out, please feel free to do that. That is totally okay. Although now that I am looking at the poll, it is not refreshing for me for some reason. I added a new one. So let's do this then. Just put it in the chat. So say 30 minutes or gotta go, either one. And let's see what the consensus is. And we'll stick around with two of you. Rachel likes it. Okay, Paul, yes. Amazing. Okay. All right. Still going, Simon, thank you. Okay. Well, let's do this then. And this is kind of ridiculous, but since we've been at this an hour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song, allow us to all kind of take a minute, reset. If you need to get up and go to the bathroom, please stand up, walk around. We're oversensitized. We're sitting in our chairs too much. So let's take like a 3-4 minute break, and then we'll carry forward. So music to come here in just a moment. We're back. All right. Thank you for indulging my obsession with retro wave music at the moment. That is what I've been locked into for the last few months. Okay. So I think the only one we lost was Andre. So I'm gonna shoot him a couple of notes, because a couple of things I meant to mention before anybody ducked out is, number one, first and foremost, thank you for being with us today on this Earth Day. I know this is a very busy day for a lot of sustainability professionals, but even hobbyists, right? If you dig Earth Day, you've got a lot of stuff coming at you. It's a little too much, to be honest. So thank you for slowing down with us a little bit and just kind of spending some time and holding some space for conversation. So a couple of things. So one of the things that this group is going to get as a perk for joining us for our very first Viridescent event on the Wonder platform here in the VIRIVERSE is we are going to offer the ability to build your own sustainability alter ego. So the way we do this, and the researcher will include the link in the chat, it is a Google form you can fill out and kind of tell us a story, talk a little bit about it. So your animal identity is number one. And then we also ask what your favorite nature element is. And then kind of my personal favorite is what your sustainability beacon or beacons are. And these are the things, and you see mine up above me here. These are the things that kind of drive you to take the action that you take. It could be a quote, it could be a belief, it could be a person, a life experience that reshaped your entire perspective on things. And so everybody here will have access to that portal. So please do that. We do have a suggested $25 fee for that, but I mean what I say when I say you don't have to pay that. It's free for you guys, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to. We very much believe in flex models when it comes to money opportunities. So you know, that's kind of our return for you all showing up and supporting kind of our crazy nonsense here today. So thank you for that. So what I want to do is I think I want to throw it over to you, Sean. I'm gonna hit you with something with not a lot of time to think, but I'll grandstand here for a minute to give you some time to think about the question. So you know, you have come into the Viridescent thing here over the last couple of months, and I'd be curious what your perspective is, you know, having done some of the work you've done throughout your career and now being introduced and exposed to this idea of building sustainable partnerships. What does that feel like? And because I think you're a good representation of somebody that's fit for a sustainable partnership, but also has a perspective of how businesses would look at this when we're all coming to business as a sustainable startup and saying, you know, hey, we're here to help you build sustainable action and programming into your business. And they kind of look at us like we're crazy, because they do sometimes, right? So what is your perspective from the business side of things? What feels different about a sustainable partnership? And then we're going to shift over to another kind of set of questions, but let's start there.
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. It is an interesting perspective to seek. I had actually been thinking about this a lot the last few days, in particular, and if I can kind of use a colorful metaphor to describe a lot of the business professionals that I have met with in the past, is there's a big difference. Is a lot of ego is very present, but a lot of them just behave like greedy assholes, and that pattern of behavior is inherently unsustainable. So I've always endeavored to create sustainable relationships and sustainable partnerships in business, because without it, you suffer from an outcome of the tragedy of the commons, right? Where eventually one side or the other of the relationship cannot continue it. So to see kind of that from more of an informed place, or more professional people who all kind of work towards the same goal of extending that beyond just the relationships to business, but also the impact on the environment, the people, planet, and profit. That's been very interesting and really exciting for me to be a part of. So I hope that kind of answers most of the question, but yeah, feel free to ask follow-ups if you like. But I'm Sean, and that's my comment.
Yeah, so let's do kind of popcorn styles. Anything that Sean said, does anybody in the room here want to come up and speak to that or ask a question? Or chat away, of course.
Can I say something? It's Sangeeta here.
Yes, please.
It's a little bit different. It's completely the same attitude of greed and ego. I completely agree with Sean, but also because of the European policy changes and corporate policy changes and the UN compatibility with sustainability rules, it's slightly different in corporations in Europe and in the UK. So they're having to become compatible, even though they don't want to. So they're being forced into it because it's legal, and they're going to get penalized by the governments if they don't. So it's more about policy change and ESG, as Waylon was talking about a little bit earlier, and also coming in alignment. Like with my alumni from my business school, we have sustainability clubs that we run, and there are corporate sustainability, and there's like environmental sustainability. And it's tough because the ego, especially in business, is very strong. It's competitive, it's based on that. But the policies, I think, are very important, because ultimately, if you're going to get penalized with money, then your ego is not going to be very happy about that. So that's my take.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, no, Sean, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, please.
I'd love to offer a follow-up thought to that. Is one way I was successfully able to navigate the ego troubles is kind of a momentum, borrowing from martial arts, where you use the momentum of their ego to the advantage of the goal you're seeking to achieve. So if you make a sustainable relationship or sustainable business model something that can placate and satisfy their ego or their dominance or their need for recognition, that was always very successful for me. Not always easy to do, but it was a successful tactic I used for years on counterparts and business partners and clients alike.
Amazing. Yeah, love that. Okay, Paul, why don't you jump in?
Hi, it's Paul. Yeah, I completely agree. Coming, having recently retired from the corporate world, I can attest to the amount of ego that goes into the competitiveness part of this. But I wanted to pick up on what Sean was saying in terms of people, planet, and profit, because I think that's an important point as we talk about sustainability and sustainable partnerships. Because we often focus very much on the planet piece of it and the environment, and oftentimes forget about especially the people side of things. And I think that as we think about partnerships, and think about, whether it's in the business world, whether it's in the NGO world, whether it's, kind of in any sector, I think we have to start to think about, how can we best incorporate kind of all of those three elements to where, those partnerships, as we talked about earlier, create sort of a collaboration and a win-win for everybody, so that we are making sure that we are staying diverse and staying equitable and staying inclusive as we think about different kinds of partnerships as well, so that it's not just an environmental thing. The environment obviously is incredibly important, but if we don't work together as human beings and bring everybody along from a humanity standpoint, as much as we save the planet, we may not save humanity. So I just wanted to pick up on that piece of people, planet, and profit, and throw that out there as a comment. So I'm done talking. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Chance here. So I'd actually like to speak to that for a second, from my perspective, or kind of the Viridescent perspective a little bit, I guess. Yeah, and Sangeeta, yes, I will speak to the photographs here in a moment too, because they come from a very special human that is one of our co-founders. So I'll speak to that here in a second. But sustainability is as human as it gets, right? I actually sometimes want to say it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the planet, because it's a human imperative. The planet would and maybe right, may be better off without us, right? It'll keep on doing its thing. It'll be changed, right? It'll be changed and turn over to a new ecosystem. But I think sometimes we get so overwhelmed by the idea of saving the planet and forgetting that this is about people first. And so my view of all of this is that if we treat each other better, if we take better care of one another, and we live in a healthier, balanced way with our human setup and design and systems, the planet will be just fine as a result, right? And so to kind of lay out how we define sustainability, and actually, I just saw a hand raised. So let's Rachel, let's just have you flow right in. That's great. Go ahead and come up on and grab the mic. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. I wanted to say a lot of things while everyone was saying things, but I'm like, wow. I wanted to speak to so many different things on there, but especially when we're talking about coming from this very old story business perspective and moving into the regenerative future. And I think there's so much separation, and we're definitely talking about partnerships here and sort of collaborative efforts going towards in the future. But I think the way that our world is that, especially in business, we talk about competitiveness, we talk about GDP growth, all of those things. And all of that is just based on the old story of separation that we need to become this thing, more things, you know, have more things, be more things. But moving into the new space is this sort of theory of bringing people together to create this collective future, and that will eventually speak to like creating a world that is not about competitive nature and is about like collaborative efforts for the future. So that's me. I'm done talking. I wanted to say so much, but I could go on forever.
I mean, we can listen to you rant for a little bit. I think it'd be great, but I do want to jump in and say something about like the competitiveness. I think the thing that's so cool about sustainability is that it's almost like me as a person wants to help another person be really successful in what they're doing. And then, you know, we'll compete, right? To see who can one up each other. Because human, you know, that competitiveness is a very human thing. But I think it's the protectiveness of like, oh, I want to be this or that, right? So honestly, I'm gonna give away something right now. So immersive sustainability is this thing that we're kind of coining and finding our niche in. But guess what? We don't own it, nor do we want to. We hope that people will start to kind of mix sustainability so what we're doing is we're using circularity, so kind of like systems thinking and human design and, you know, the best parts of like human innovation. And we're mixing it with art and science. And we're trying to, everything we do, we're trying to meld those things together because we believe it's more accessible for people to learn if they can kind of see it, touch it, feel it, co-create it. But honestly, I hope somebody, you know, grabs immersive sustainability and takes it to an amazing place. And then we have to catch up, to tell you the truth. So, you know, that's a really important part of what this is, right? It's not about out competing each other. It's almost like playing a game of chess, but it's a game of chess that nobody's really trying to win against the other. We're playing the same game together to try to unlock or win the game of a better and happier and healthier human kind of experience is how I see that. So, you know, thank you. And Rachel, feel free to grab the mic again here at any points. I see Sean raised his hand, so let's jump over to him and we'll just kind of carry on.
Yeah, Rachel, thanks for the comments there. It kind of reminded me of you know, one of the biggest challenges that I had in business was talent, right? And having a sustainable relationship with the talent pool necessary to grow and scale the business. And it took me a long time to get my partners to come over to this belief system and give and try the concept of you know, of pay. All right, and it was, you know, something so simple as a fair market wage for the work, where they tend, and a lot of businesses tend to come at this from a, well, I need everything from you and I'm going to pay you as little as possible, because that's how advanced capitalism behaves, right? Where I kind of say, well, everybody's doing that, every company's doing that, so what if we flipped the script? What if we looked at, okay, what are the most ideal outcomes from the human relationships that we could have if we were able to pick from the best available talent in the talent pool and offer them, you know, top of market or slightly above market compensation for their work? How would that affect our business? How would that affect the sustainability of our relationship and our ability to continue to attract, hire, develop, grow our teams beyond, you know, beyond what we were had been accustomed to experiencing with high turnover and kind of low employee engagement. So kind of looking at the emotional impact of on the team from paying top market wages or slightly above top market wages, they ended up becoming far greater than the sum of our parts. And we enjoyed 100%, 200% growth year over year when we made the investment in the right people. And what felt like a scary expense-based decision to pay more than my partners were comfortable with ended up yielding returns far greater than anything they had possibly imagined. So when I think about kind of the sustainability of relationships, it is a little bit more. You think about it, it's even the emotional state of the relationships, the partners that you're working with, because an exhausted, undercompensated, disengaged group of people are not going to be as effective and not going to be able to affect as much change. So that was kind of an experiment that we ran. It was with great success. But I'm Sean, and I'm done sharing. Love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Sean. So let me pose a question to the group. If I were to ask you, what do you want from a sustainable partner, right? What's like the thing that you want them to do for you, right? And I'm not going to lead it. I kind of set the stage earlier when we first launched the room here, an hour and 19 minutes ago. But I want to ask that question. I want to pose it to the group. If you're looking for a sustainable partner, what do you want them to do for you? And you could answer it this way too. What do you want to do for them? Also, either direction, whichever you choose. Is anybody brave enough to on mic and come up and answer the question? I bet there's someone. One thing. Should I share an example? And so this, honestly, from my perspective, it's the same, whether it's what I want from another or what I'm giving to another. When I establish a partnership with someone, I kind of tend to look at it more as like a friendship. I kind of want to do business with my friends. I'm not particularly interested in doing business with people that I don't feel like we can relate and connect. Doesn't mean that I don't want to work with people that are different from me. I think there's a big difference. What I want is people that share in a desire to do something greater and bigger than just themselves and whatever they're doing, right? And so one of the things that I look for the most in partnerships is how happy can we both be by working together, or partnering on an initiative or a campaign, or whatever it might be, right? Happiness goes a long ways, because I think that and I'll actually recommend a resource. And for the researcher, if you want to link this in the chat, would be super cool. So there's a book called "This Could Be Our Future" by a gentleman named Yancey Strickler, who is one of the co-founders of Kickstarter, and he talks about gross domestic product and how it's the measurement system of the global economy, and it's kind of like measurement of like the human experiments or experience. And if you were to ask GDP what it wants, it would want a family of 12 that are, that all have cancer and drive SUVs, right? Because it's all about money spent. That seems just completely nonsensical to me, right? So he talks about we need to create a system that is really more like gross domestic value, and that the value component is values, right? It's time, it's impact, it's happiness, it's profits. And I think that if we could figure out how to kind of, you talk about I see paradigm shift as a theme across the chat a little bit. If we could figure, Bhutan, that's exactly right. Gross national or gross domestic happiness, right? It is such a wonderful way to measure the health of a country, because that doesn't mean that money doesn't matter. Money matters a great deal, and humans like money, it's one of our creations. It's just like technology. We created it, which means we have a fondness for it. But it's like in anything, it's out of balance. It's too much. It's not sustainable in the way that we do it. So let me ask the question again for anybody kind of in the audience. When you think about what you want to give to a partner or get from a partner that is sustainable, what do you think? Where does your mind go? What do you want their help in doing, or what kind of help do you want to provide them? Yeah, Paul, please.
Yeah, I think that I completely agree with everything that you've said, but I think that the collaboration piece is very, very key for me. I think that I want partners that actually want to create actionable outcomes, and I want partners that want to collaborate, whether we're competitive or not. And I think I'll share, that I'm part of a kind of a cross-tech sustainability group for event professionals that includes, big companies like Google and Oracle and Facebook and Salesforce and Twitter and, Adobe and Zendesk and a whole bunch of them. And these are companies that, compete with each other on a day-to-day basis, but these folks have come together because we all share a common passion around the topic of sustainability, and we all want to do something really good for the world. And so we've all agreed to put that competitiveness aside and collaborate with each other and try to think about what are the things that we can work on together, and how can we use the leverage of the big buying power of all of these companies to actually change things from a positive perspective. And so those are the kinds of partnerships that I think are interesting, is like, can you leverage a group of people collectively, as you mentioned earlier, Chance, can you collectively work together to create some actionable outcomes and not just keep talking about things, and work towards, progressing things, whether it's day by day, month by month, year by year? Can that group collectively change things and collaborate together in a positive way? And I'm done talking.
Amazing. Chance here. I'd love to flip it over to WONDR-land a little bit. Sam and Simon, do you want to speak to that a little bit, right? Because WONDR is a platform for the conversation to really start. But I know that you all share, and it's like, okay, we start the conversations, now let's take it to a place of action. So I'd love to give you the opportunity to speak to that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting where Paul took that then as well, because I think it's so interesting how partnerships, and so typically it's like referred to as this, business kind of outcome where, and I think this competitiveness makes a lot of, makes a lot of sense of how people view it. Am I getting the best deal? It's not the best way to move into a partnership, and it's not the best way to do business. But like what Sean was saying, and I think everyone was saying around competition being this idea that someone's getting done over. If I'm not winning, then that means the other person is, and so therefore I don't want to collaborate. So I think it's a really interesting cultural perspective, and where Paul was going there about collaboration. And Rachel, I'd like to throw it over to you in a second as well, to hear about how you're trying to solve what is an economic challenge for sustainable startups, because economies of scale are so difficult and it gets quite expensive. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But to answer that question, Chance, for us with building WONDR, we're trying to connect strangers who potentially can offer a missing skill set that the other person hasn't got, so that they can both go towards a shared ambition. And I think it's so right what Paul was just saying there about how you have to have a shared outcome and collaborate on maybe where are the gaps, because then you have a really solid way of being better as a 2 or a 3 or a 4 than you do by yourself. And I think that's been lost, especially with over the recent decades, with technology kind of getting out of hand, with how it's scaled so incredibly scarily in many ways because of the way in which sometimes the algorithms or the design's been made. But it's almost perpetuated this individualism, or it's more about the self and the selfie, rather than the connection and the collaboration you can have as people. Our CTO particularly remembers a time when the internet was created with all the ideas of having collaboration at the heart of it. And in so many ways, the internet still has that. But for us, can we bring back that sense of you talking with somebody? It's not always about trying to find out what's good for you. It helpfulness and helping another human goes to that kind of happiness metric rather than GDP, I suppose. But it's also just a wonderful way to live your life, which is, how can I do something for you? Because typically, I think the world sends it back to you at some point anyway. So that karma effect comes back anyway. But can you go into the world trying to say, what can I help you with, rather than how can you help me? I think that piece with collaboration is so key to what we're trying to do here as well. But as I say, it's something we all share on this call. I don't want to always come back to WONDR. We share this sentiment, and so many great things people are doing on this call. So I think we're sharing that. This is Sam done speaking, but I wonder if Rachel, I don't know if you could share some of the thoughts you've been having, or the way you work with some of your, with Circular Earth, how you're working with those sustainability startups and some of the models you've been thinking about.
Thanks, Sam. And I really resonate, especially with what you said about the missing skill set. And I think that that's one of the best ways of collaboration, and what I've been doing with the collaborative partners that I've been working with. I certainly don't know everything and can't do everything. That's just insane for one person to think that they could. And I found really great solace in finding and working with these other partners. Yeah, so one thing I'm doing with the startups is for my consultancy basis, it's sort of for SME companies, but I was finding there was a lot of startups coming to me and they were like, I really don't know where to start. But they couldn't necessarily afford my usual consultancy fee. So I decided to like gather them collectively together to share with them my knowledge of creating a brand from scratch, because a lot of these people don't come from a fashion background, don't necessarily have the skill set. I also like collaborated, not just about me, collaborated with other people who is, say, in marketing or social enterprises that have been in those kind of different sectors, to come in and share their knowledge with the collective. So that's what I'm pushing out right now. And yeah, the ecosystem is a separate thing, but then it could lead into it. But that is a platform then to bring together businesses, both startups, SMEs, like even people who are not sustainable already, and have them work together on the journey. So buying minimum order quantities together for the fabric yardage, finding like professionals who know about certain skill sets, and really having everyone work together in a kind of AI virtual space. So yeah, that's me, and I'm done talking. Thank you.
Amazing. So I want to speak to a couple of things in there quickly, but before I do, we're at our 30-minute mark, so we'll spill over for just a couple of more minutes, but I real honestly don't want to commandeer too much more of everybody's time. You know, we're very, very thankful for your participation in our session today. So Sangeeta just asked if we can share our contacts with each other. Please do so. What we can also act is, what we're going to do is we're setting up topics for these conversations specifically, and we'll do a post after every event that will include some of the resources that were linked, the just epic quotes that were said, because there's been a couple in here. And I kind of want to allude to something that just happened between Sam and Rachel there here in a minute. But so you'll be able to find some of those resources, and then there'll be a space where you could go on and post your contact information, links to your WONDR pages and communities and spaces and topics and things that you think are relevant to the conversation. So we will do that as a standard practice. So that will be accessible to you forever. The other thing we're doing, of course, is recording this conversation. So we will go ahead and post that to that post so that people can go back and watch it or share it with your network and group as well. And I'm more than happy to do that. So what I wanted to speak to is that what just happened between Sam and Rachel, and Paul too, right? Paul kicked it off, and then we kind of shifted over to Sam and then to Rachel. Is, to me, that was an exercise in circularity. I personally believe that circular thinking is kind of the next evolution of human design. And the reason being is the sustainability champion, as we call them, tends to think about, like, you know, the things they really care about, but helping somebody else be successful in doing that. So Sam was kind of like, I don't want to commandeer time. I don't want to focus on WONDR. Like, I want to talk about what Rachel's doing. And, you know, as a result, Rachel's able to shine. And then, you know, that's a circular kind of synergistic sort of or symbiotic sort of relationship, right? That's what sustainable partnerships to me are all about. It is supporting the others and knowing that in supporting somebody else, they'll probably take good care of you. And, you know, if they don't, because, right, not everybody is amazingly kind and as Sam and Rachel here, right? But if they don't, then that's their problem, right? And my beacon, my first and foremost beacon, is from my mom. Kitty Thompson has always told me to stay true to who I am. Don't worry about what other people do. And the other thing that I want to say in this conversation that I walk out feeling very inspired by is, I said some fluffy stuff about, like, I want partners to be happy, right? And then all of a sudden we started talking about, yeah, but we want to take action too, because guess what? We need to take action. And so I'm really, really stoked about just this little micro community we've created right here, and we will do our part to try to help this conversation, kind of continue on. Before I close this up and just share a few kind of housekeeping notes, I do want to offer the stage. Does anybody else have anything that they want to say? We certainly, if people want to, we could take like 10 minutes and do like a closing word from everybody, like 30 seconds, what your favorite kind of takeaway was. Why don't we do the hand raise function? So use the hand raise button if you want to say something to close us out. Why don't we do that? And we'll kind of go with the group's consensus there. And that could mean everybody's ready to close up shop. There we go. All right, got a couple. Okay, yes, great. So we'll start with there. So if anybody does need to go, please feel free to do so. Go on about your day. There will be a recording of this, and likely we will share some of the closing thoughts from everybody. Thank you for being with us. And if you do stick around, there is one more song to kind of close out and walk out to. So, all right, let's go to you, Sean. Yeah, you're first on my list.
Yeah, cool. It's a little off topic, but it was very thought-provoking interview I heard with Doug Fabrizio the other day. Here, he's a local journalist, for those of you that are not here in Salt Lake, on the NPR station. So my question actually is for Waylon, if he's still here. I know he mentioned that he'd mentioned that he's a member of the 3 tribes in North Dakota, and the interview topic was about the current Secretary of the Interior, and in this momentum gathering behind this idea of shifting stewardships of the national park system over to the native tribes rather than through the federal government. And I was curious if he had heard anything about that and if he had any thoughts on the topic. I'm very interested in the idea.
Yeah, Waylon, please.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great question, because I was actually part of, I covered it when the National Park Service did transfer management over to I do believe it was Oglala Sioux tribe. Oglala Lakotas took over management of, I want to say, White River. There's like a White River sub-agency there, or substation. And I was also a part of just focus groups or talking groups when Mr. Gerard Baker was the superintendent at Mount Rushmore, and that's National Park Service as well. I would say the alphabet soup of different agencies would be probably the first line, but to be honest, with the Secretary of Interior being a Native American for the first time in history, that puts us in a position that we've never been in before, and I don't think that we're short of any terrible things actually taking place anymore now. I shouldn't speak too soon. See, because I'm going to bounce around here a little bit. Our state, the state of North Dakota, I'm from the 3 affiliated tribes, and so the state of North Dakota entered into fight for keeping DAPL open, and our tribe, MHA Nation, decided to support that. And I'm just perplexed because I've spoken to a number of different tribal members downstream, and they're convinced that we have violated our treaty. We violated the Treaty of 1851, Fort Laramie, the 51 Treaty, and so that's a ball of wax that I don't know what's going to happen with it. But transferring over, back to your question, transferring that control definitely would be a step in the right direction, but it would allow for a little bit more, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. We have a lot of corruption at our tribal government levels. And so there's a movement among Native American individuals that we need to stand up for ourselves as opposed to letting the tribes make those decisions so much per se. But that's a whole other ball of wax again. So I don't know if I answered, but yeah.
If I could jump in, Waylon, I would love to. I think we'd love to carry this conversation forward. It would be really cool to do a conversation kind of examining the broken loops in the partnership levels of this kind of stuff, right? Because this is so you know, I know, like, you know, the tribes want to build community resiliency, right? Regional resiliency, and like build self-sustaining ways of life, right? But there's so many things that are broken to be able to do that, right? It would be really cool to break that down. Would you be interested in coming back and we could have a conversation and kind of break it down a little bit further?
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to that at all, for sure. That's part of the reason why I jumped on board with that $25 donation as well, because I was like, well, you know, I understand where that, you know, where those needs are, and I'm just like, well, if, you know, it's got to start somewhere, right? And so yeah, I'd be honored to be a part of that conversation for sure. And I know, you know, I know a few people that, if needed, that I could actually ask as well.
Okay, yeah, it'd be great. Okay, well, we'll do that sometime in the next month or two. That's amazing. Okay, so let's go ahead and shift over. Dr. Sangeeta, closing words, your favorite thing from the conversation or something you want to say to close out?
I don't really want to say anything except thank you, and could you please say something about these absolutely gorgeous photographs?
I'm playing coy. Yes, I can do that. I'll do that right now so I don't forget. Thank you. So the majority of the photos that you see are captured by our fourth co-founder. You have two here with you, three. Myself as the designer, Sean as the architect, and then the researcher who is kind of hiding behind her alter ego at the moment. And then the creator, who is my best friend in the world, Jake, and he is an incredibly talented photographer. A few of these are mine. I'll own a little bit, but he dwarfs me in his ability. It's pretty cool. We figured it was fitting for Earth Day, and we'll probably do this as a pretty consistent thing through our conversations so that people can just enjoy a soft setting while we talk. So thank you. And you can check these out on our Instagram page. That you will see them flow through Wonder a lot too. That we do, again, circularity, art, and science, and the art and science piece is nature, right? So you'll see these a lot. Paul, closing thoughts, words, anything you got?
Yeah, again, I also wanted to just say thank you for bringing this group together. You know, the last thing I'll say is that, you know, I've heard the word regenerative or regeneration a little bit in this conversation. It's something I've been thinking about a lot. And I just wanted to close with a little statement that, you know, the idea of regeneration always supports sustainability, but not all action on sustainability is necessarily regenerative. And I'd love for us to have a bit more conversation, you know, in the future, Chance, about, you know, the difference between regeneration and sustainability, how they support each other, and how regeneration is different from sustainability. So just a thought.
Amazing. Okay. Anyone else? I think I see all hands down. I think I saw Sam, you pop your hand up. Did you mean to put it down, or would you like to say a few closing thoughts?
I'll be really quick, just to say it's wonderful to meet everybody. The thing that stood out for me everything was incredible, but Rashika's comment about understanding everyone around the planet, I think when we talk about sustainability, like you said, Chance, and people, I love the idea of just being compassionate and empathetic to what's going on around the world and everyone that's involved in this joint collaboration. But thank you all for your time.
Amazing. All right, so I'm gonna just a couple of housekeeping things for everybody to know kind of what's coming next, and then I'm gonna share two quotes that I think are relevant to the discussion. And we'll start a song and everybody's welcome to just sit and listen, and then the room will close after the song has finished out. So a couple of housekeeping things. So this has been inclusive conversations. So this is kind of meant to have a few key kind of panelist style, right? We had like Sam speaking a little bit more and Rachel's chimed in a little bit more. So we'll be doing these types of conversations where we have some kind of thought leaders and so-called experts, though, like I said, there's no such thing as a sustainability expert, really. And we will host these monthly. So right now we have them scheduled for the third Thursday at this time, and we will continue to do these via Zoom through the WONDR platform. And we will, what we have coming next is in 2 weeks, we are going to launch what we call campfire conversations or campfire chats. And so, yes, there will be a campfire in the Zoom room somehow, some way. And it'll be a little bit more, it'll actually kind of be like the way this one ended up, because it was nice, intimate, really chill group. So we just kind of bounced around and had popcorn. But I think what we'll do with the campfire chats is I may attempt to not really moderate or facilitate the conversation in any major way. We just want to truly sit like friends sitting around a campfire out in the woods and nature, wilderness, the sticks, as we would call them in Montana. And we'll enjoy those. So the quotes. So this conversation, the quote for today, before we started, is that alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much, by Helen Keller. And the other quote that I want to share that speaks to Paul's fiery contribution. And yes, Paul, to answer your question, we will absolutely carry the regeneration component forward. The last quote that I'll share is that the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing, right? And we've done a lot of talking, so we will act as a space for everybody to stay connected, and let's keep the conversations going forward. And, you know, I know that Sangeeta and Rishika made a connection there, and I hope that you two carry dialogue and continue forward. No pressure, we will be following you. We want progress updates every week. But really excited to continue the conversation. The other thing to note is that this is only the beginning of what these events are going to become. We, at some point, are going to roll out a featured donation of the events so that people can donate to a particular cause while they participate in the events. All of these are also coming to you carbon offset. We will be planting a tree for every single event we hold as well. So in addition to the carbon offsets, we'll plant a tree as well. So just know that there's some good, healthy, sustainable action being taken from these. So the song to walk out to, I think, sums it all up. Sam and Simon, you heard me play this recently. I'm gonna play it again because it is a time to come together. Thank you so much for everybody's contributions. We'll capture the chat, the links, all the stuff that was said and brought forward in this conversation. And you know, we'll see you here in the next couple of weeks to a month. Thank you so much for being here.